Hello everybody. Today's lesson is the coding lesson 1. And so now that we have been spending some time with drones, we are going to move on to the next part, which includes programming a small bit, where we instruct the drones using computers and tell them what to do. But before we begin with that, we have to start working on the basics and learning a bit more about the rules as to how we can do that. So today's lesson, we are going to focus on a review from the last week's video. And then we are going to look at an application called Tello Edu, and there will be some homework for that. And then we're going to I'm going to show you a small demonstration of mine for Sudoku. Okay? And then the next lesson we'll start focusing on things that are more relevant to coding. Okay. So to start with the review, I would like to go through one of the examples from the last video. Okay, so making clear instructions are very important when it comes to programming. So do we remember? So if I had to say, go forward 3 blocks, okay, so 1, 2, 3, follow the gray arrow. Then go left 3 blocks. So we go to the side for 3 blocks, follow the gray arrow. We're still pointing upwards, so if I say go backwards 2 blocks, then we go backwards, go right 1 block. Okay, so it is very important in coding to give very clear instructions. You can't just say go forward, go left, go backwards, go right, and expect the exact same results. Also, if I say go forward 10 blocks, then that will be confusing, because then we will leave the grid and the computer, or the drone in this case, won't know what to do. Okay, so it is very important to be clear. So in the upcoming lessons, we are going to be focusing on these 4 applications. So 2 of them are on our cell phones, called Tello Edu, which is what we will use today. And then there is an application called Drone Blocks. And once we are more comfortable, we will move on to working with computers in a programming language called Python. It is a very popular and common language for using a computer. And then we will also use another application called Wing Python IDE, but that is not important, so we'll just move on for now. If you were to start the Tello Edu game application, we will go into the tutorial. So if we were to start the Tello Edu game, we can go into the one option where we connect to a drone and we send it instructions. So these are simple examples of coding. So over here we have something called variables, operators, controls and loops and conditions, and there we have instructions. So the instructions, this one is what's important for today. Okay, so don't worry about everything else. This is the one that's important. Okay. So if we were to start the Tello Edu game, it will look like this. So that you can see that there's a little button called tap to start. So what we have to do is we have to take the drone and we must fly it through the circle. So we will click on motion, and there we have the option for takeoff. I hope you remember what takeoff means from our previous video. So that means when we're on the ground and then we go up into the air. So take off from the ground. So that is our first instruction, very important. And then we click motion, and then we take it and we drag it to tap to start. Okay, so like you see here. And then we do click on motion again, and we click forward. And we click it and drag it across. And then you can press tap to start. So then what happens? We start, we take off, and then we fly forward through the circle. Okay, so that was a very easy one. The next one, the circle isn't like that, it's now like that. So instead, we mustn't fly forwards, we must fly upwards. So we click on motion, take off, then we click on motion, and we choose up to go up. And we will just go up one tile, and then we press tap to start. Okay. Now here is a slightly more complicated one. So what we do, we shall first start with takeoff and forward. This time we go forward 2 blocks. You can see on the picture why. Then we must land. We have to come down. So we click and drag. Then we have to take off again. And then click on motion and fly forwards. But we must fly forwards 2 blocks. Then press OK, then we can take off. So what happens if we try flying forwards without taking off? So it won't work because we're on the ground and then we will crash. So if you tell the drone to do something at the wrong time, then things will not be good and it will crash. So this is why it's very helpful to learn this game before we start coding. Because if you press the wrong thing, if you have the wrong line of code in the wrong place, then things won't always work out. Okay. So this is the homework. If you have an Android like Samsung or LG, you can go onto the Play Store. If you have an iPhone, you can go on the App Store. Now I want you to download the Tello Edu app and finish the tutorial on the game. I hope you could do that. Okay. So let me go into my example and the demonstration as to why all of this is super helpful and important and fun. So this is my coding example that I'll show you now. But first, let me explain the game of Sudoku. So Sudoku is a Japanese game that has 3 basic rules. So it has numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then also like that. So we have a grid, and then in each grid there's a smaller block. Okay. So rule number 1, each number can only appear once in each row. So what does that mean? So a row is going like that. and there are 9 rows. Okay, so now I want to put the number 1 in this block, but if we remember, each number can only appear once in each row. So if I were to put 1 in this spot, there's another 1 there already, so I can't put it there. The next rule is each number can only appear once in each column. These are the columns. The columns run up and down. So I want to put a 1 in this spot. Do you think I can do it? Well, no, because there is another 1 in the same column, and each number can only appear once in each column. And the next rule, each number can only appear once in each block. So if I were to put a 1 here, is that allowed? No, because there is another 1 in the same block, and we can't have 2 1s in the same block. Okay, so finally, here are the 3 rules. So in that block, so you can see a 1 can't go along here and a 1 can't go along there, so that leaves 1 block open to put the 1, and so now we can put the 1 there. Okay, so now let's try find another spot to put a 1. So you can see there's this column, but a 1 can't go in this block, otherwise there'd be 2 numbers in the same block. So we can put a 1 down at the bottom. Now I want to figure out where can I put a 2. So you can see all of these different 2's. I can't put them in the same rows or the same columns. So what I'm left with is this little block down here, and I could put a 2 down at the bottom. Okay, so now I want to show you how I can do a Sudoku problem. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed it up 5 times faster than what I did in real life. So this problem took me 2 minutes and 15 seconds to find each number and put them in the right place. Okay, so just a few more numbers: 3, 8, 5, 5, 3, and the last one 5, 3, and 6. And then hooray! And I am finished in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So now what I want to show you is how fast a computer can solve a Sudoku problem. So if we look over here, here is the grid. Here is a grid, it's called grid 01. And so this is all of my code. It looks complicated now, but don't worry, you don't have to know this yet. So now I'm going to press the green triangle for play. And what it will do, it's going to figure out every little spot of where it can put the number. So watch the left part of the screen. Are you ready? It's going to be very, very quick. Okay, so run, and it's finished. Just like that. And that took 0.3 seconds. So now we can look at all the lines of everything that is figured out. Here is the first Sudoku, and if we go down a bit more, it has figured out some numbers, and it's put in more numbers. And now if we go all the way to the bottom, you can see that there's more numbers, more numbers, more numbers, until my computer has figured out all of the numbers that can go into the Sudoku problem. How cool is that? And so it took me 2 minutes and 15 seconds, but it took my computer 0.3 seconds. So that is just a fun example of how cool computers can be when doing small little tasks. So in our next lesson, we are going to start working on things a little bit more complicated, and we'll see how that goes. Until then, this was our coding lesson 1. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are learning things, and I hope you're having a good day. Bye bye.